What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got the first information, the first peek at Starter Deck 22. There is a shop out there, Botopia I believe it is, who have gone and shared this image that they've gone and made. And basically this is giving us our first hint at Starter Deck 22, our first information if you will, and essentially what we know at the moment is that it is going to be a Whitebeard Pirate deck focused around Ace and Newgate. But before we get any further, I do need to let you know we are doing a Whatnot stream tomorrow, Black Friday. It's going to be 7:30 PM UK time, and we are going to be doing a box break of OPO2, which, yes, was a pretty important set for Whitebeard Pirates. Use the invite link in the description, whatnot.com/invite/Dawasi. Get yourself some free credit and come join me tomorrow on Black Friday to hang and crack a box of OPO2. It's going to be fun. Now, here's the thing. We don't know exactly what this means. And if you're going to do a Whitebeard Pirates deck, like Ace and Newgate are the two obvious ones. I mean, there is Marco as well, to be fair. Marco is a pretty big deal, but these are the two obvious characters. Now, could it be a dual leader scenario? Of course it could. Now, I've given a little bit of pause here because we've only actually had, I believe, one starter deck with a dual leader, and that is Starter Deck 12. As always, correct me in the comment section if I'm being dumb and forgetting something here. So, Starter Deck 12 was the only time we actually had a dual leader for a starter deck. So, I'm always kind of inclined to not think that's the case. Now, we've had we've had some starter decks with 3 leaders. So, Starter Deck 10, for instance, came with the 3 captains. Starter Deck 13 came with the 3 brothers. Now, I'm not saying that we are going to be getting this here, but I'm telling you that there is a chance that that could happen. That we could actually potentially have multiple leaders here. We've not seen a deck with 2 leaders yet. It's always been 1 or 3. But there's no real reason to think we couldn't have that. It's just not something we've actually yet seen. So there's something to keep an eye on, something to think about. Maybe it could be 2 leaders. Could be a dual leader, although my inkling is to believe probably not. And we don't know exactly what information we're going off here. Did this store hear Starter Deck 22 is going to be Whitebeard Pirates and just go, well, Ace and Newgate? Or did they hear Ace and Newgate? Because these are the obvious ones, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they are the only ones. And then, of course, we got to ask ourselves, well, if there's one leader, let's just assume there's one leader. What leader are we going for? Because we go back to OPO2, and we got Newgate. And Newgate was, remember, I know at the moment Newgate's not that relevant a leader, right? But for a long time, Newgate was so good. Like, so unbelievably good. We literally had to ban it. And a bunch of other cards. I still contend, and I've been on this beat for a long time now, Moby Dick remains banned. It's a 2-cost card that on your turn, if you have 1 or fewer life cards, your Edward Newgate and all your characters with a type including Whitebeard Pirates gain 2k. I still contend that if they unban Moby Dick, Newgate just becomes a top tier deck overnight again. This seems to me to be one of the most ridiculous cards ever printed. So I'm kind of on this beat. I think this one's amazing. So we had that and it was amazing. But then we flick forward to OPO3, for instance, and all of a sudden we get ourselves Ace, which has never been a huge leader in that regard. Leader's never been that good. You get to just discard a whole bunch of stages and event cards from your hand, and you get a plus 1k boost for each one you discard. So, there was potential there, but it was always just a bit awkward. In Starter Deck 13, we got another Ace. This was a blue and yellow Ace, which let you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, add a character card with a cost of exactly 5 to the top of your life face up. But then at the end of your turn, you trash all your face up life cards. So that one never really made much of a splash. Starter Deck 13 Luffy. Oh, yes. Starter Deck 13 Ace. Nah, mate. Sorry about that. And then most recently we had Marco. Marco came around in OP08. And this to me, I always thought this was going to be amazing, right? We've got a red-blue leader, but it's got a draw skill, draw one and put a card on the top or bottom of your deck from your hand. And then also a minus 2k. It's kind of reminiscent of Sakazuki, in that you've got a drawing skill here, or at least cycling cards, which is a similar kind of thing. As well as, I mean, here you're lowering power, Sakazuki lowered cost, but of course, that's what Sakazuki decks wanted to do, whereas red decks want to lower power. So, yeah. It always seemed quite similar, but just never made the same kind of impact as Sakazuki did. But the potential remains there nonetheless. But it raises a really interesting question about what Whitebeard Pirates might look like. You go to the early days of the TCG, like year 1, and we've got red Newgate leader and a red ace leader, and we've got all of the red Whitebeard Pirates. So there's no question there, Whitebeard Pirates are going to be red. But then, if you look more recently, we've got the blue Porcus D Ace, also yellow, and then the blue and red Marco, and nowadays, it seems like these Whitebeard Pirates are actually more blue than they are red. By which I mean like the more recent ones are blue. I mean, I showed you literally just a couple of days ago that over in OP10, the new set that's just about to come out over in Japan, we have, there's no, as far as I can remember, I don't think there are, correct me as always if I'm wrong, we're not seeing any new red Whitebeard Pirates over in OP10, but we're seeing a new Marco. And actually, it's a pretty good Marco. It's got blocker, but also on KO, you get to take one of your opponent's 4-cost or lower characters and return it to their hand. So we've got a bunch of blue Whitebeard Pirates lately. There was the blue promo Marco a little while ago. Not even that long ago. So nowadays it seems like we're more blue. The problem is, if we don't have red, then we miss out on a bunch of good cards. And yeah, I know Moby Dick got banned, but the character Newgate from OP02 is great. We got Jozu, who's specifically great in Whitebeard Pirate decks. Counter plus 2k, but you gain rush if you got 2 or less life, and your leader is Whitebeard. We've got both of the Marco. Yeah, the Marco gets a lot of cards. We got the one from OP02, which is the blocker, the on KO. You can trash a Whitebeard Pirate card from your hand, and if you've got 2 or less life, you play it rested. Another card which really has to be in a Whitebeard Pirates deck, let's be honest with you. And then the one from OP03 that really revolves more around event cards than necessarily Whitebeard Pirates. But especially things like Jozu and the OP02 Marco, these are cards which really specifically work in Whitebeard Pirate decks. So if we don't have red, we're going to be missing out on them. But there are a bunch of really good blue Whitebeard Pirates as well. Because, of course, we got the blue Marco in OP08, or the part blue Marco. And it was accompanied by a bunch of blue Whitebeard Pirates. Like, for instance, the Edward Newgate character that basically makes your opponent have to trash 2 cards from their hand in order to attack with a character. Which honestly seems pretty gosh darn ridiculously good to me. Or the new Moby Dick stage, which I'm not claiming is as good as the old one, not by a long shot. But it does at least, when a character of a type including Whitebeard Pirates is removed from the field by an effect, draw a card, and then put a card from your hand to the top or bottom of your deck. It's at least got a little bit of a consistency boost going on here quite nicely. So my point here is, what we really want from Whitebeard Pirates nowadays is blue-red. Blue and red would be perfect. That would be absolutely ideal. But can anybody tell me how many dual-color leaders we've had in starter decks in the One Piece TCG? The answer's not many, ladies and gentlemen. The answer is really not very many at all. Regular starter decks, none. We've had no dual-color leaders in regular starter decks. In starter deck 10, we had 3 leaders, all of which were red-purple. In starter deck 13, we had 3 leaders, all of which were part yellow. And then in starter deck 12, we had the dual Zoro Sanji card, which is green and blue. But they were all like special cases. They weren't just ordinary, everyday, run-of-the-mill starter decks. So, personally, if you're asking me what I want to happen here, let's have a red-blue Ace Newgate leader. That would be amazing. That's what I'm wish casting for here. The reality is probably going to be one or the other. We'll have to wait and see for the time being. A lot of this is obviously speculation. We are very short on information. But, look, I found out about this and I wanted to have a good old chat about it. And you found out about this and probably wanted to have a good old chat about it as well. So a bit of speculation seems fun. What we know is Starter Deck 22 is going to be Whitebeard Pirates. And you know, as soon as we get more information, official reveals and all of that, I will let you know. For me personally, I'm delighted because we know Starter Deck 21 is that Gear 5 starter deck we've been talking about a lot lately. And we know the Starter Decks 23, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are a set of 6 starter decks all kind of together. And it's weird that it's taken so long to get any news about Starter Deck 22, even though it is unofficial and obviously subject to change. But hey, now we know something, so now it's over to you guys. Tell me what your hopes and dreams are for this deck. Tell me if you want Ace or Newgate or Marco or somebody else. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Get us! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at Lawasi. That's where we talk about One Piece and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wassy Plays.